This remarkable history unfolds in the year 1778 with the birth of a baby boy in West Bromwich in Warwickshire who was named William Ault. William Ault started reading the Bible from a very early age. By the time he became a young adult, he was already involved in conducting Sunday school in his hometown. He entered the ministry of God in 1808, during which he showed a keen interest in assisting Reverend Dr. Thomas Coke with his overseas missionary work. Bearing this in mind, when Reverend Dr. Coke was selecting missionaries, he included Reverend William Ault and his wife, Mrs. Sarah Ault, to accompany him, and they gladly accepted the mission. Reverend William Ault and Mrs. Sarah Ault, Mr. and Mrs. Howard, Mr. Clow, Reverend James Lynch, Reverend Erskine, Reverend Thomas Quans were the missionaries chosen to go on this expedition under the leadership of Reverend Dr. Thomas Coke. Before starting off on their legendary journey, the mission leader, Reverend Dr. Thomas Coke, preached his last sermon at St. Peter's Chapel in Portsea, Portsmouth. The topic of his sermon was, "Ethiopia shall soon stretch out her hands unto God." With that prophetic thought in mind, the zealous team of missionaries got on the two ships, Cabalva, which carried Reverend Dr. Thomas Coke, Mr. Clow, Mr. and Mrs. Howard, and Lady Melville, which carried Reverend James Lynch, Reverend Erskine, Reverend Thomas Quans, Reverend Ault and Mrs. Ault. They embarked on the two ships on the 29th of December 1813 and started sailing on the 30th of December 1813. This epic journey took them through the English Channel, the North Atlantic Ocean, the South Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean and the Arabian Sea. During this demanding journey, the beloved young wife of Reverend William Ault, who was only 25 years of age at the time, sadly came to rest in peace with God on the 10th February 1814. The remains were committed to the sea on the same evening. At daybreak on the 3rd of May 1814, Reverend Dr. Thomas Coke, the mission's leader, was found deceased on the floor of his cabin. He was buried at sea, some distance northwest of Seychelles. These tragic events shook the team physically and mentally. Despite all these challenges, the devoted missionaries continued their epic journey and reached Bombay on the 21st of May 1814. The ships anchored offshore of Gaul on the 29th of June 1814, and the three of the first Wesleyan missionaries set foot on Ceylon soil. This day thereafter became known as the Methodist Day in Sri Lanka. Reverend William Ault and Reverend Erskine alighted at Veligama, which is about 12 miles away from Gaul. On the 11th of July 1814, the missionaries held their first meeting in Ceylon and called it the Little Conference. When the missionaries drew lots to select their stations, all drew one of the most isolated places, Batticalow. With a powerful vision which began from across the continents, Reverend Ault set off to Batticalow by boat and sailed for 8 days. After a tough journey battling the storms, he finally reached his destination, Batticalow, on the 12th August 1814. The arduous voyage had an adverse effect on the missionaries' health. On arrival, Reverend William Ault had contracted fever, as sickness was rife in Batticalow. Nonetheless, the passionate missionary was focused on his mission. His eagerness and determination had prompted him to learn the Tamil language and adapt the culture of the native people. He started an English school in a warehouse of the Customs Department with just 5 students. The date of establishment of this school was quoted as the 29th of August 1814. Thus, the future of Batticalow began to take shape, and the transformation was slowly being embraced. To achieve great heights, one must have strong roots. The seed for a new era in the educational history, which was planted by Reverend William Ault, has grown extensively since. Due to the harsh weather and exposure to the local conditions, Reverend William Ault's health had been deteriorating since his arrival and was taken seriously ill in January 1815. He entered into glory on the 1st of April 1815. The remains were laid to rest in the Dutch church, with the local people erecting a monument in his memory. In 1897, the newly built mission hall was named the William Ault Memorial Hall. This veteran scholar was the founder of the Methodist Central College, Batticalow. We honor and proudly sing the praises of those who have gone before and those who steered us forwards. Reverend James Cartman was the last European principal of Methodist Central College, Batticalow. His dedication to God, his determination and commitment to serve has transformed the lives of many. His passion for service, fueled by his desire to bring change, his unrelenting pursuit to cultivate talent, has significantly raised the standards of both curricular and co-curricular activities, particularly in the field of cricket. Reverend James Cartman's contribution to Methodist Central College, Batticalow is something more profound than any. He was a true inspiration to all. Since then, many of our principals rendered their services to Methodist Central College. Among those is a name which reverberates in the hearts of all Centralites, Honorable Mr. Prince G. Kasinada, who served as principal during the years 1975 to 1986. He is a well-known former Member of Parliament whose services were extensively extended beyond the walls of the school, and that reach had made him an instrument for development across the country. He has been an example for nurturing education system and maintaining discipline. Mr. A. Arulanaraja is a well-respected and dignified gentleman in the society with an agenda for quality education for all. His intense passion for English language has always been an inspiration to the younger generation. During his time as principal, Methodist Central College celebrated its 175th anniversary in a grand manner, and a commemorative stamp was issued to mark this milestone. Mr. K.G. Arulanantham has contributed immensely to the overall development of the school. One of the iconic events that took place during his time as principal was the building of the renowned Cartman Hall. Moreover, the Scouts movement had a remarkable highlight of attaining the President's Award. Mr. Kamal Raj, who is a people's person, has refurbished and developed the school's hostel building by constructing an upper story. During his time as principal, the college won the first place in the Connecting Class project at the provincial level competitions. He has contributed greatly to make the school a better place. Mr. J.R.P. Vimal Raj, who has assumed his post as principal of Methodist Central College, Battigalore, is an exceptional individual. In the past years, he has served in various educational institutions, both in Battigalore and in Colombo. He is a role model not only to the younger generation of today, but also to the past pupils. He is hailed as the best maths teacher by his students. Mr. Vimal Raj has the unique talent to impart knowledge as well as to discreetly mold the character of his students. Our hearts are filled with joy in wishing Mr. Vimal Raj all the best. Methodist Central College, Battigalore is dedicated to investing in knowledge and fueling a constant drive for excellence, which empowers us to build on the dream that has brought us here today. Our visionary leaders, with hopes in their hearts and dreams in their minds, took the courageous leap forward which formed the cornerstones of our legacy. We share and take pride in the glory and the honor of our legendary milestones.